Please join me in welcoming our panel members on stage, and I'm going to request all our panel members to be seated as I call them. Let's clap and welcome Mr. Ganesh Shinkre, CEO, SFO Technologies. Mr. Girikanth Avadhanula, Director, Customer Advisory, SAP India. Mr. Laxman Mahale, Business Head, Mahindra Accelo. Mr. Rohit Gupta, Director, R&D, Nexteer Automotive. Mr. Sanjay Mishra, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Jindal Stainless Limited. Mr. Vinod Bhat, Chief Digital Officer, TATA AutoComp Systems Limited. And moderating this session, ladies and gentlemen, let's clap and welcome Mr. Sunil David, Digital Technology Consultant, ex-Regional Director, IoT, AT&T.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for those introductions. And at the outset, I'd like to thank Sujata and Bibor for giving me the opportunity to moderate the session. Very contextual topic in the times that we're living in. Before we get to the panel, I'll just take a couple of minutes to set the context for the discussion, right? I just wanted to call out a couple of insights from two reports that came out late last year and this year. CII and KPMG had published a report last year surveying about 1,500 odd manufacturers, large and medium-sized manufacturers, to assess where they are in terms of their digital transformation journey. And one key insight that came out was that there are various companies at various stages of adoption of digital, but 30% of manufacturers whom they call as digital champions really did not scale their digital transformation initiatives. Many of them were not moving beyond pilots, and not surprising. And one thing which really came out of that report is that we have this paradox that we're dealing with: high on intent, low on execution, especially among the large and the medium manufacturers. Maybe we'll have some of the experts counter that, okay? Second is, there's a report which Niti Aayog came out with a few months back this year, specifically targeting medium and micro and small manufacturers. And as you know, MSMEs, and we're going to focus a lot on that, represents the backbone of India's economy, right? About 97% of the MSMEs, of the 6 crore MSMEs that we have, are micro companies. A lot of them are manufacturers. And for them, technology adoption is always a challenge. How to get started, where to get started, whom to partner with, how do you build skills, all those are challenges. And this is what we are going to cover, right? So the drivers today for technology adoption are very strong, right? Whether you look at cost of technology today, that is coming down by the year. If you just look at hardware, and I have spent a lot of the time in the IoT industry, I've seen how cost of IoT hardware has really come down. A telematic device about 3 years or 4 years back used to be about 15,000 rupees. Today is less than 5,000, right? Cost of cloud is much lower than what it was before. Overall cost of technology is low. And I think the most fundamental driver why you need to adopt technology is purely because of sustenance and growth, right? The topic is all about how do you build, how do you use technology for competitiveness, how to build competitiveness, how do you grow? So forget about growth. Even to sustain your business today, I think there's no choice but for manufacturers to adopt technology, especially the MSMEs, given the contribution to India's GDP, 30% contribution to India's GDP. And what we want to do over the next 45 minutes is that we want to cover how do you kind of demystify technology for the MSMEs, for them getting started with the challenge. We want to talk about what could be those low-cost automations that they can get started with, how they can really leverage data for competitiveness, for growth. Of course, we want to talk about skilling, the importance for them to get the right level of skills to work on these technologies. And if time permits, we'll maybe talk about government incentives that can really help the MSMEs to really survive and grow. So I'm going to start by getting Rohit into the discussion. And Rohit, thank you so much for joining us. So I just want to ask you, for the MSMEs, for them to adopt technology is always going to be a challenge. The first question they would ask is, what is in it for me? There's a mindset that needs to change, right? Many of them are family-owned businesses. So just from your own experience, what would be your advice to the MSMEs in terms of how to get started? How do you really demystify technology for the MSMEs? Rohit.
Thank you, and good morning, all. A very relevant question, Sunil. Technology has had an overwhelming effect on the industry, especially manufacturing, even though by stats, manufacturing have been at the forefront of embracing new technology. So as they say, storytelling is important and as a powerful tool, I'll share a real example. So I used to work for a German MNC, and they also sold food processing machinery in India in terms of the complete plant. So without taking names, and in the year 2019, we started working with a small food processing company in terms of that we as equipment suppliers were building prognostic systems, predictive maintenance systems, which was proven in the West that would increase the throughput, improve the efficiency. So when we approached this MSME, when my team approached them with this use case, the first answer was, no, we cannot have any production interruptions in our process. That's the first answer you get. And what this indicates is that there is a natural inclination that there is some risk involved as soon as I talk about implementing technology, rather than the view that technology may be an enabler. Well, that said, to cut the long story short, we started with implementing some sensors around the machinery. Being an equipment supplier, it was easy for us. As we all know, and I would emphasize, all these buzzwords like IoT, sensorization, they are not super expensive now. Technology has made a leap with development, and these sensors are now available in thousands or tens of thousands of rupees, not in millions of rupees. So that said, we implemented these sensors, we started collecting data. Now came the next step. And I clearly recall one of my team members coming and reporting, we are getting nearly perfect data from the plant. And given my experience with developing analytic systems, we were surprised. And when we went in, what we understood was that the team on the ground, the team from the MSME, they were nervous and anxious about what's happening. So they started filling in manual data, right? And I missed the part. So in the beginning, they didn't agree that you can push the data to the cloud. So we had installed a edge device at their premises to collect data. So what you see here is that even though you have systems in place, if the people are not aligned with the system, if they don't understand that this is going to bring a benefit, you will see resistance. Eventually, we were able to build an algorithm, curate a system that started demonstrating that, and the confidence level of the system was 90%, that you can improve the throughput. Already in the beginning of the implementation of algorithms, the throughput increased by 5 to 7%. That was the difference, because they were able to, so this was a pre-processing machine, so if this went down, the whole process stopped. Now the throughput is going up, and then you see the turnaround. Now the domain experts who were telling that I can touch the machine and tell when it will break down, they were saying, we want to understand how you have achieved this. So what I'm trying to say is, I think a lot of it is, the resistance that you see is because not of technology, because of lack of trust in technology. MSMEs believe that technology is for the large corporations to embrace, they cannot afford it. But that's not true any longer, right? If you look at electronics has taken a huge leap. So with this story, what I'm trying to say is, I think it's important before even thinking about what technology can do for us in terms of ROI, empower people with the right knowledge, build trust in what it can do in terms of empowerment rather than seeing it as a risk.
Right, thanks, Rohit. I think 2 points. Okay, one, thanks for sharing that example, and also lack of trust in technology that you talked about. So a lot of effort involved in trying to remove that barrier, right? That myth that technology is only for the big enterprises, that has to be shattered, right? And I think then they'll probably get started. Let me get to Laxman next. And Laxman, any transformation journey, of course, starts with automation, right? And then you progress further, digitalization, and then full-scale digital transformation. So in your view, how do you really get the MSMEs to start with low-cost automation? Your experiences, if you can share.
Yeah. Good afternoon. So basically, my viewpoints are, MSME actually is evolving, and also the word low-cost automation as he rightly pointed out, it is always, it is said that, it is for the larger companies or the, not for this MSME. But this is actually the phenomena now over the years, the technology or the sensors or the cost of automation has drastically reduced. I still remember when I visited Europe before 25 years, and now what I see there visiting that plants, or when I visit China, the mechanisms what were costly at that time, now the cost should increase, but we found that the cost has drastically reduced. So it is actually the first very important aspect and a very important point that MSME should remove from their mind, that the cost of automation is high. It is low cost is basically, at that time it was really high cost. It was not low cost, but now in the present scenario, it is really low cost. Actually, we in our company also, we demonstrate, have some competitions, utilize the potential of human beings' ideas, brainstorm, and we gave award to the low-cost automations. One simple example, actually, we implemented last few months back, is basically in every company there is always a weigh bridge or weighing scale at the security gate. And security gate, when the vehicle comes, he measures the weight, then he takes the slip, goes to the commercial officer for sign, he get back to the security gate. So lot of non-value added activities were happening. So in one of our brainstorming sessions, people asked how we can, do some low-cost automation internally so that these non-value added activities can be reduced. So we brainstormed internally, we got some ideas, and now within the month, in last 3 or 4 months, we implemented idea. Now the truck is coming, the weigh scale is linked with the SAP system, the empty weight is taken, when it is going out, the field weight is automatically coming into the SAP system, commercial head only acknowledges that, and the trucks goes out. So this is how actually, and the cost of all this implementation is very, very less.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just sharing a small example to, to think how low cost is really low cost.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this is how actually, the life is now mechatronics. There is no way out. The days are gone when you were mechanical, electrical, something like that. But now mechatronics and data is the way of life, and we cannot avoid that. And going further, AI is further fueling the system.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with you, Laxman. I want to get Ganesh into the discussion. And Ganesh, okay, you start with automation, right? And then of course you have, it's a journey, right? I mean, how do you really get the MSMEs? It calls for a lot of patience as well. They progress on their journey, right? For them to see that impact. So again, I just wanted to get your views on this. How can they just progress beyond automation?
So thanks. My sort of take on it is sort of a little layer on top of what they're saying. So if you really look at it, these are the building blocks, whether it is sensorization, automation, or even implementing a good, strong MES system, a good, strong traceability system, are all things that MSMEs want to do in their own ways. But when you're doing these, you've got to remember that when you're committing, you are looking at always a cost trade-off on almost any, especially an MSME, but any company. I think any company is very sensitive about what's the value I'm going to get for this. But at that time, don't forget or remember that this data or these systems that you're creating, you've got to be able to have them be able to talk to each other, if not today, then in the future. And also remember that these are going to be the foundational building blocks of your journey to use tools like AI. And if these are not, then you're going to go and reset yourself back to fix all of these when you should be moving forward with technologies like AI. And really, while a lot of people see these as digitization to get visibility, like Raghav mentioned, the paper map view, but I think really the differentiators for companies are going to be about, and for us as an industry, in manufacturing as a whole, are going to be about how we can use this data to become more productive, more efficient, higher quality, and more responsive. So if you don't build these, you have to build these building blocks right. You have to be able to think about what needs to be able to talk to each other. Like an ASN has got to be able to talk to a shipping, an invoice directly and an invoice to a GRN and so on and so forth. If the three are in three different systems, you're going to cause trouble. And then you have to remember that tomorrow I'm going to use AI. Today I don't have the tools. Today I don't have the ability. But tomorrow I want to be able to use tools like AI to be able to do this even smarter than I am today, but perhaps even smarter than my next door competitor. So I think these are some things that I think MSMEs need to focus on, because it's very easy to lose focus of that when you are trying to get something done with lowest cost.
Right, Ganesh, thanks. I just want to build on, you mentioned data, Laxman mentioned data, and I want to get Vinod into the discussion now. And Vinod, trying to extract data from the physical world, especially we are dealing with very heterogeneous environments, a mix of old and newer machines, especially the legacy machines, right? How do you really get the MSMEs to realize the value that you can get from the data? Because you can really unlock a lot of insights from the data, right? So just wanted to get your views on this.
Okay, first of all, thank you, Sunil, for having me here on the part of the panel. I think before I answer that question, I want to a little bit give perspective that this generational technology shift which is happening today, we need to acknowledge that. It is beyond whether you are SME or SME, because it is a new way of doing business.
Yeah.
So it is not about whether I have a low cost sensor. It is not about whether I can connect one machine. I don't think that is the point. Question is whether I can survive and thrive in the business. That's the only thing. So how do you survive in the business when you are, suppose you are an auto manufacturing company, you are any OEM, any of the OEMs, you are part of a larger ecosystem. Are they not expecting you to send the data on traceability? Are they not expecting you to support the warranty systems? So if you do not give that, you will be automatically out of the race for the business, because you will not be called for RFPs. You will not be competitive at all. You will not be able to design a product which is based on the drawings. So it is a necessity. Let's first acknowledge that and put it on the sheet of paper. And then roll up our sleeves and go back to the drawing board, saying that what business I'm in and what are my current processes. What is my as-is story? Whether it is, you talk about the data. Obviously, if you have to have a machine and if it is breaking down frequently, you need to have an automation. You need to have OT integration where you can get the data out. Now the question is, what are you going to do with the data? Are you going to map it with your production planning, with your, the workforce, the shift manager? How are you going to map it? So there, where data becomes a lot more powerful in planning, in scheduling, in also looking at that, am I able to support the maybe orders I have to deliver? I have to, for example, in a day I have to generate or produce, say, 5,000 parts. Am I, from the machine point of view, from the people point of view, am I completely equipped? I think it is about that from that perspective. Then the other part comes that, am I doing it now efficiently? Am I doing repetitive tasks which can be easily done by an RPA from the software point of view, a robot by, where there are hazardous areas, or is there, I have got a lot of servers on-prem which can be easily done on the cloud. So I think those things help you, but important is that before we jump into the AI, data is very important. And the quality of data is important.
Absolutely.
Because if you do not have the right quality of data, so you need to first go back and see that how do I have the golden image, single version of truth of data, and how do I protect that? If you have an international, multi-country footprint, you need to make sure that you're compliant. In the urge of doing a lot of things together, you may actually harm your brand. So you need to know that what data I'm talking about, what are my obligations, what are my compliance requirements, and then I start incrementally. The good news is that we don't have to rock the ocean, boil the ocean together. We can do it incrementally. We can do it IoT-based sensor data can come. What are you going to do? Is it going to be part of our MES? Is MES not there? Fine. Then what are you going to do? So it can be an incremental digital transformation story, which our people who can, the companies, the manufacturers who are not there yet, they can map it with their growth story. They don't have to put a lot of money in the capex. Absolutely not. But they should look at the value, how much I'm going to invest, am I relevant or am I redundant in the industry?
Right, I think good points you made. Data quality is a big challenge, trying to get authentic data, and also the fact that today data most often is in silos. You got to get that integrated view of data, right? And so that becomes another challenge, but there are technologies that are available that can help you that. And just wanted you to, Sanjay, to build on what Vinod said about data for growth, right? So, yeah.
Sure, I think probably many of the points have been covered. I wanted to give another perspective with respect to MSMEs. I believe this is the golden age for MSMEs given the current geopolitical situation. What is happening right now that the countries are actually becoming fierce nationalist approach they are taking. If you, not just right now or past few months, but before that, a fierce nationalist is coming to most of the Western countries. So is our South Asian countries as well. What is going to happen is that along with the globalization, global supply chain, global suppliers, there will be a huge self-reliance where the government will be focusing that are you using your local suppliers, and that is the beauty where role of MSC is going to be super important. Are we geared up for that or no? I mean, when we want to make sure that our manufacturing becomes reliant upon MSMEs, then they have to scale up. And the only way to scale up is technology. So where, given the geopolitical situation, given our reliance on MSMEs, are we making sure that we are using the technology to scale up? I mean, technology entry point has become very cheap, given the cloud, given the Gen AI, given the technologies which are available, and my friend talked about given the cost of production. So entry technology very less. Making sure we are leveraging the geopolitical situation to our advantage, not to our disadvantage and becoming a victim. Making sure that we are leveraging the technology, which is actually folks are doing it, and the third aspect on the people. What I have seen that there is a myth that the old generation is not adaptable to technology. I think that might be just very isolated cases. They have seen how technology is helping. So instead of just telling them, if we show the that generation how kind of show them, they are very open. If we use the technology, the people, and the geopolitical situation to our leverage, I am pretty sure that it will be a golden age for MSMEs. What we are doing, actually, what we found in technology in stainless steel, we found that MSMEs, they are much more agile. We find it very easy to interact with them so that they can solve the problem we have, not force their solution on our head. They have a solution which is built for A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H. That is not my problem it's going to solve. While we have found out MSMEs are very forthcoming, that they are solving the problem rather than forcing the platform. For the data perspective, I think it's very clear. Data is just like an experience. I mean, from human experience, when I was 10 years old, 50, I learned something. 15 years old, I learned something on top of it. As you grow, you do better and better based upon whatever experiences you have. Similarly, machine do better and better based upon the data, whatever it has. So I think if we have that mindset, we leverage the geopolitical situation, we leverage the technology, we leverage the smaller institutions, which probably they are much more willing to partner with them. I mean, this is the age, as our current dispensation is saying, that make in India, and we will be very forceful. That is what
This is the opportunity that they really have to seize, right? Absolutely, okay. Let me get Giri into the discussion, and Giri specifically wanted to talk about one technology, which is cloud, right? And especially for the MSMEs, it is probably far easier for them to go to cloud because they don't have a lot of legacy infra, right? So I just wanted to get from you your views on SAP's, as you're targeting some of these micro and medium-sized enterprises, kind of impact that they've seen after they've started to move workloads to cloud, and what has been the impact after doing that? And the second part of the question is, the moment you have data on cloud, of course, security becomes a concern. So how do you address those security concerns for the MSMEs? Giri, your view.
I will address these two questions. One is whether it is MSME or whether it is the large enterprise with the limited resources, how can you adopt these technologies? Anytime that you do, what we call as you first adopt and then you consume the functionalities of the software more and more. Because by the time you would have understood, for example, you bought a phone, you use the basic features, then your friends will show you, oh, you can do this, you can do this. So those are the additional things that you learn. So start small, and in the cloud world, the whole idea is you will first implement the basic things, and then there are more functionalities that you consume. And then because the technology is evolving very, very fast, there are newer functionalities that the OEM provides, like companies like SAP. And you don't have to, again, spend a lot of time on upgrading, because we look at it, when you look at the journey, it's not about buying the software. companies are not afraid of buying the software, that investment, etc., is not a big thing. It's about the downtime that is involved. Even if you want to upgrade your laptop, that laptop would not be available for you maybe for 1 day or whatever, because you are porting the data. That downtime is something which becomes very unaffordable for many of the businesses because of the revenue loss or the production loss that they would suffer on account of that. And that downtime is what gets reduced when you are using the cloud technologies, because a lot of work is being done by the OEM, the service provider, like whatever upgrades that have to be done. It's only the remaining delta testing or whatever that has to be done is done by the users. The next thing is, especially for the MSMEs, the IT talent, all said and done, you see everybody doing IT courses nowadays, right? Yet the IT talent is quite limited. We can tier, we can segment the IT talent. IT talent, you have the high end, and then you have the middle end, and then you have the low end. At the low end, which is where we are producing a lot of people, those skills are not in demand. It's a lot of high-end IT skills that are required. How do I maintain my servers? How do I optimize the performance? Just the way you are all in the manufacturing, you want to get the best out of the machine, right? You want to improve the throughput. Same is the case with the IT systems as well. I want it to be available 99.999% of the time. And I want the performance to be more. With less money and with less storage, I want to optimize my storage. So these are all the considerations. And who can do that? And that kind of IT talent is quite limited. And that's where the OEMs like SAP, we are taking the responsibility through the cloud. And then we are saying that we will take care of all this infrastructure. So it is only the business process that you take care of. The next one that companies like SAP, and SAP does that quite well. For the ever-evolving business needs, what are the new functionalities that are required? For example, you have two approaches, right? You can call a startup, there are plenty of them in Pune, or Bangalore, or Hyderabad, and then you can do some small experiments. But what happens to the data? What is the integrity of the data, and will my data be compromised? And if he is using some open software or whatever, then will my security be compromised? So all these issues will be playing in the minds of the people. But when you are using the software which is certified, which is developed, which undergoes all that kind of testing from established players like SAP, then you can be rest assured, oh, I don't have to think much about it. So in that particular regard, like what is it that is in the news now? We all heard about the kind of production loss that is there at JLR, right? That's the one that everybody is talking about. If it could happen to JLR, imagine it could happen to any company, right? Because they must have, they must be using the best of the experts or whatever. Now, any employee in your organization can very innocently click on a particular link. In fact, we undergo a lot of training, what you should not click on, what is phishing, etc., etc., etc. In spite of that, we still feel that, oh, sometimes, you know, the mail says that it has come from an internal source, it has come from because the name says that it is SAP. And then intuitively, you know, you just go and click it because assuming that it is safe. But still, even those things could be, there could be some malware or whatever in that. With all these things, any employee could click on something innocently, and your systems could be compromised, and then there could be ransomware, and there is no way you can get out of it. And this is where the cloud again plays a role. You are not as security experts, and we know how to protect your applications, we know how to protect your data, and we know how to protect your entire infrastructure. So this is all that the expertise is being made, and when you go for the cloud, obviously it is the best of the experts who are governing your systems, and at a very fraction of the cost. Why? Because I'm not deploying that particular person on your premise.
Right.
I'm doing the entire thing remotely. And that's how we are bringing down the cost, And we automate a lot of things because I know what kind of attacks have happened across the companies, and it's very easy for us to develop those patches and then put the necessary processes in place. So it's the centralized mechanism that is being provided by us through the cloud technologies, and it is available at a fractional cost, the kind of security that can be afforded only by the large enterprises.
Right.
So that's how the cloud is helping.
Right, and you get the example of JLR, right? I mean, I think I was just reading that I think the impact because of the cyber attack, about $2 billion impact to their business is what I was reading. So the threat is, cyber attacks are just getting even more sophisticated by the day. They are AI powered. All the more reason for the MSMEs to really be on the guard when it comes to cyber security. I'm going to now move quickly to the next round, and Ganesh, I want to come to you next. Just wanted to talk about, we talked about how they can get started, low-cost automation, the importance of data, cloud, and the importance of security of data and applications. I just wanted to hear from you, how do you overcome certain barriers? You know, see, one is, of course, you have tech barriers, people skills, and then you have the external economic environment to deal with. You just read about Trump imposing a 100% tariff on pharma, branded and you know, the patented ones, right? Effective from 1st October. So, you know, you have this very uncertain economic environment to deal with, especially for the MSMEs. You know, what would be your advice to them? How do you kind of navigate through all this and really progress?
I think you're looking for a magic bullet there. But I think there's 2-3 things, and some of them from this conversation, some from what Sudipto said. I think there's a lot out there, and I think a lot of it is really not even possible to comprehend, even if you study it hard. So it's important to not try to, you know, grow gray hair trying to comprehend. I think one element which Sudipto mentioned is stay patriotic. Focus on making sure that you're doing the right thing for your community, your people, your teams, your company, and your board. And the other is probably to stay positive, because look, it's not necessarily going to, he said, some people say a few months, some people say a few years, it could be, you know, tomorrow. The two big guys go and shake hands and it's over. So one doesn't know. So I think especially for MSMEs, it's a tougher time. While there's a lot of opportunities looming, it can be the golden age of MSMEs, like Sanjay said, but it's not going to be a, you know, bed of roses. It's can be and have its fair share of up and down. So I would say stay patriotic, stay focused on doing the right thing for yourself and your country, and perhaps stay positive. Keep everybody around you positive. You know, keep people positive and focused on what's the next best thing I can do. If something doesn't work, what's the next best thing I can do? That's, I think, how I would see it.
Right, thanks, Ganesh. And Sanjay, coming to you now. So all the more reason now, given what we are dealing with, to get the cost of manufacturing really down, right? So I think perfect time for the MSMEs now to really leverage the power of technology to really get the cost of manufacturing really low, whether within the shop floor or with the visibility of supply chain and so on. Sanjay?
Sure. I think there are 3 aspects to cost of manufacturing which probably can be looked at, and MSMEs are looking into. Availability of machine. I mean, given it's a long cycle of machines, how we'll make sure that machines are available, and because even a single downtime of a machine causes it can take 1 year of profit. So availability of machine, that is one. How we can optimize the resources on the shop floor. I mean, be it men, machine, material. Because if we can optimize and make 1% saving, 0.1% saving, that will again probably help fund entire spend on that front. So that is second aspect what I can think of. And the large is how to let technology be pervasive, not so difficult to implement or adopt. Are we making it easier to adopt, making sure that soft floor guys, is it easier to deploy? I have seen projects getting failed with the best of the best technology. When the cycle time of deployment is 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, by the time technology is deployed, the problem is gone. So making sure that making machines are available, making sure that optimizing the shop floor, including supply chain, and making sure technology is easier to adopt, not a long cycle time. So I think if we look into that, partner with the institutions, because I have seen, I went to last week to IT Delhi, they have a great partnership where they are building solutions which are really nice. So if you can partner with them, make sure that you look into the problem, start small, scale up and then take the people along. And I think the world is yours. That is MSME era. That is my take.
Yes, start small, scale fast, and think of the bigger picture, right? Okay, and just you talked about optimizing resources, and one of them is the people resources, right? And just want to get Vinod back into the discussion. And Vinod, when you talk about optimizing the human resources, especially in factories, calls for them to have competency, digital fluency, skilling becomes important. So, especially for the MSME, when they cannot really afford very expensive talent, how do you deal with that situation?
Yes, see, it is the people where rubber meets the road, right? So all we can talk about technology, but if you don't have right people with the right skill set, you will not make a lot of difference. But there are ways, I think first is, top-down approach. There has to be a mandate from the senior leadership that digital is way to go. Second is also the bottom-up. The people on the ground, on the shop floor, they have to be told about it. It is multiple ways of doing it. For example, a lot of webinars we do. Even their skill set baselining. Because today we do trainings of the shop floor people through immersive technologies, which was not earlier there. And they love it. And immersive technologies can bring down the training time at least by 33%. And it's all digital. So people can actually create a skill matrix right in the plant. And right, the person who is managing the training, the shop floor person can know exactly who is my L1, who is my L2, who is my L3. So I think that is today happening. And more importantly, when you identify those digital ambassadors who are actually on the shop floor, it should not be driven by the IT and digital team. It should be driven by the people who are making a difference on the floor. And when they hear a story from their peer, I think it becomes a lot more easier. Second is also the career roadmap. So it's not about whether I can do a work digitally, but how do you look at the whole enterprise and give them a roadmap? And we talk about DevSecOps, we talk about AI DevSecOps. So it is real, it is coming. We're talking about sprints. We don't have any waterfall anymore. So how do we map the different layers, whether they are SMEs, technical people, quality people, even a quality person who was in the plant, he has to use today computer vision for quality inspection, and that is a fact. And once they know the power of computer vision, that it can actually do a lot of things in terms of validating the quality, I think they embrace it. Gen AI, it is real in the manufacturing. They create a lot of synthetic data for the quality management itself, for the paint shop. Similarly, agentic AI is real. So I believe that the more adoption based on the value it is generating, based on the problem it is solving, and the people on the ground, when they embrace it, I think it makes the adoption becomes easier and the digital workforce become truly digitally ready.
Thanks, Vinod. I just want to pick on that point. Digital ambassadors, very interesting. You can call them a digital champion or maybe a kind of a sutradhar who works with the external ecosystem and also internally within the organization working with the top management as well as the functions below, right? So I think you need someone like that who can really collaborate. Thanks for sharing that. Rohit, anything to add on the workforce, the digital skilling for workforce?
See, I think the important bit is that the first point I want to emphasize is that if you don't spell out the problem, if you don't acknowledge the problem, talent is needed. I think Vinod made a point and some others concurred that to survive, MSMEs are needed. But to survive, MSME also need to survive, right? So it's the whole supply chain. So that said, yes, technology is seen for the elite. Everybody wants to get the best. But if you look at the Indian ecosystem and how it has grown, especially for the fact that talent arbitrage was very strong, today we have functioning 40,000 startups, right? And though all the large corporations, if I were to use the analogy, everybody wants a Arjun from the Mahabharata to be on their side. So they want the best startup to work with them. But Arjun was not the only warrior in Mahabharata. There were millions of warriors who fought and who made sure Pandavas won. So using that analogy, I would say I will encourage the SMEs also look at that aspect when they are talking about unexplored domain, unexplored technology, partner with a startup. There are a lot of young kids coming out of colleges. They are, putting out garage startups like it was happening in the West. But they also need an opportunity. They have the skill, they don't have the data. You as MSME, can utilize their skill and create a win-win scenario. It doesn't have to be a zero-sum game always. So I think that is an added aspect. Large corporations, of course, are tapping into it, but I will encourage MSMEs to think about this, that this is a huge potential which is lying untapped in India.
We have 5 minutes more. So, okay. Thanks. Yeah, sure. Laxman, anything that you want to add? Not just on the the skilling part, but overall.
See, skilling part, I just want to add that actually it is very, very important aspect as per MSME is concerned, because, you know, they are more vulnerable about the variations and what are the impacting forces actually acting on the MSMEs. So if they really work on this concept of, you know, the new entrant coming, training them for a very good concept, you know, matching their wavelength, as now the Gen Z, we always call it, is a very difficult to, you know, work in a company for a number of years. Like they are seeing to us and asking, "Arey, you are here for last 20 years." So that was a, you know, big question mark on their face. So this is the change in the scenario with the societal change that's happening. So digitization needs to be adopted by SMEs to actually link these employees to and take them to the next stage, train them, establish them, and make value out of them. Because this training should also actually inculcate some competency, skills, and then that should create value for the MSME. So as a MSME, actually it is very important aspect. Lot of things can be managed on the cloud-based system, inventory, dispatches, all these things are very easily manageable. And if we utilize this technology with this new Gen Z, I think MSME can definitely prosper. There are a lot of challenges, but it can be overcome, as he rightly expected about the availability. You know, they can monitor online, sure, OE, availability, performance rate, quality, then dispatches will not hamper. So his worries will reduce. So this is a mindset change for adopting the technology for SMEs.
Very well put. Mindset change, which needs to be addressed. We have time to take one question from the audience. And actually never realized that we'll get to the stage where we can take a question, but thanks to all the panelists for keeping your responses very brief, that we have time to take one question. So we'll just take one question. Request you to please introduce yourself and please mention to whom you are directing the question to. Make it a very brief question, please, and please mention whom you are addressing the question to. You have a gentleman here? Yeah, please.
Sure.
Yeah.
Hello everyone, I'm Arvind Hariharan from Yokohama Tires. It's a pleasure to be in this conclave where all the industry experts and veterans are present. My question, anybody can take it. I don't want to name any one person. You are all industry veterans. So my question is, I completely agree that digitalization is the way forward. But when? The reason I ask this question is, for example, to start with a simple thing, invoice processing tool. I have 5 people doing the invoice processing tool, and currently the invoices are, let's say, 1,000, and 200 invoices can be done by one person. Annual spend is about 12 lakhs. But to implement a tool, it's about 60 lakhs one time, and then annual spend is about 15 lakhs. So should I implement this tool now and then keep paying for every change request that I have to do? Or should I wait till my number of invoices or my organization grows where I have to about 8,000 invoices a day, and this cost is at par, and then I digitalize rather than waiting for a payback period of 5 years?
Good. Vinod, you want to take that? Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, first of all, thank you for the question. See, you have to right-size the solution for your enterprise. You don't have to jump the bandwagon saying that everybody is doing digitalization. It has to make value for you.
Right.
So every digital transformation is based on a business case and ROI.
Yeah.
If you have not reached that volume,
Yeah.
if you have not reached that scale,
Yeah.
don't go for it. But having said this, you still have opportunity for optimization. You still have low-cost optimization options available for you, because that manual stuff you can still take out until you board on a large transformation platform.
Right. Thank you. Thanks so much.
Yeah. Rohit, you want to add?
I'll just add a flavor. So very valid point that the business case should be built in before you solve it. And sometimes I think it's about finding the right partner, right? And then when I was talking about startups, that's something the organization can look at. Technology certainly, so when people talk about machine learning, so the word ML also is synonymous in India with manual labor. Manual labor is cheaper than doing machine learning, right? But that said, I think finding the right partner, and as as I mentioned, I think there's untapped potential among university students. Now, techniques like hackathons, where even smaller companies are going to campuses and sponsoring. There are 38,000 universities in India. Yes, they are still less. We need 22,000 more to feed the demand for 2030. But that said, there's still a lot of untapped talent potential that is available. And I think the right business case mapped to the right partner is also equally important.
Thank you, Rohit. We are completely run out of time, but the speakers are going to be around. If anyone wants to meet them and ask questions, you all are free to do that. But on that note, I would like to conclude the discussion. Thank you so much, Vinod, Giri, Rohit, Laxman, Sanjay, and Ganesh for sharing your insights. I think great insights from all of you. Thank you so much. Back to you.
Check. Thank you for that wonderful panel discussion. Can I request all the panelists to come forward for a group photo together? Can we clap for them, everybody? Ladies and gentlemen, let's clap for Mr. Ganesh Shinkre, CEO, SFO Technologies. Yeah, I think the applause is missing here, and that'll add on to everything. Thank you. Mr. Girikanth Avadhanula, Director, Customer Advisory, SAP India. Mr. Laxman Mahale, Business Head, Mahindra, Accelo. Mr. Rohit Gupta, Director, R&D, Nexteer, Automotive. Mr. Sanjay Mishra, Chief Digital and Information Officer, Jindal Stainless Steel Limited. Mr. Vinod Bhat, Chief Digital Officer, TATA AutoComp Systems Limited. And our moderator for this session, Mr. Sunil David, Digital Technology Consultant, Ex-Regional Director, IoT AT&T. Thank you for doing the honors, and thank you to all our panelists for the insightful, lovely panel discussion. Thank you.